Welcome to the webinar on California government grants, where to find them and how to get them. This webinar is presented in partnership with the California Association of Nonprofits and the California Grants portal. This webinar was recorded on April 14th, 2021.
Hi, I'm Jan Masaoka. I'm the CEO of the California Association of Nonprofits. Welcome to all 1,500 people that we're expecting today. One of the reasons that we're doing this seminar today on California grants and California and federal grants, how to get money from the government, is because so many nonprofits in California have just had first-time experiences applying for government money with the Paycheck Protection Program, and the forgivable loans, as well as the California Small Business and Nonprofits Grant. We know that literally tens of thousands of nonprofits have received funds from these, and for many people, it's kind of their first toe in the water for government money. So welcome to everybody. And I want to thank in advance Lucy, our policy director, and who is also going to be fielding questions. And so we're encouraging her to interrupt me and Shivani and say, hey, stop, here's some questions you have to answer, all right? Government funds for nonprofits or for anything don't just kind of occur. They don't grow out. They're not brought by storks, would be a better way to put it. And in fact, they come about because of policy advocates. And 3 years ago now, State Senator Monique Limon, who was then a member of the Assembly, she's from the Santa Barbara area, and she authored a bill that Cal Nonprofits sponsored, and that was to create the first ever portal in California so that there would be one site where you could look up all the California state grants. So we want to give a big shout out to Monique. She's also the founding chair of the State Senate Select Committee on the Nonprofit Sector. So I think that those are, so just to thank her for her leadership and her foresight on all of this, as well as to just remind all of us that these things happen as a result of advocacy. All right, now I introduce Shivani Bose-Varela. She's the director of this State Grants Portal project. She is based in Sacramento, and she works at the California State Library, which is the California State Department that is in charge of this particular project. And she's, such a hands-on manager and such attention to nonprofits. She's convened lots of people, as you know, and you probably may have input into this as well. So she's going to talk about the California Grants Portal, and I'm going to do a little bit something different, a little bit more workshop-y on how to get a government grant. Okay, take it away, Shivani.
Thank you so much, Jan, and thank you everyone for being here. Such a great group of you all here. I'm very excited to share this information and this tool with all of you, and it's been a tremendous honor for all of us to work with Cal Nonprofits through this development of this project, and also Senator Limon's office. So we're very excited to continue this work with their support, and I'm gonna walk you guys through a little bit of a background on what Jen also mentioned, where this portal came from, but more so how did we actually develop this portal and what it took, and then actually take you to the most exciting part of this presentation, which is actually looking at the portal and learning how to find the funding that you're here to learn about. So I will try not to spend too much time on the slide deck, which is usually the repetitive work. So here it goes. So Grants Portal, as Jen mentioned, came out of a legislation, AB 2252 back in 2018. So the project started July 1, 2019 to create a single website for all grant seekers to find the California opportunities. One of the things I wanted to highlight, the grant opportunities that are on this portal are competitive and first come award process, including loans and federal assistance funds. So there might be some grant opportunities that are non-competitive that might not be on this, right? So this is the definition that was in the legislation that we are asking all state agencies to follow and make sure that those grant opportunities are on the portal for all of you to be able to find. The idea behind the grants portal was a very user-centered design, which is learning about users' experience. So what we did was starting with getting all of the folks that are involved in this process. So all the state agencies, so we have over 50 state agencies currently being actually putting in the grants into the portal. But we started talking to them, learning about their process. And then we also met with a lot of the nonprofit groups, local government, individuals and small businesses who will be using this portal to understand their challenges and opportunities around finding grants in the state. So that's how we kind of created this whole portal. And all of the data that is being put into the portal is open source, which means that you can actually download all the data, slice it, dice it, however your organization would like, to find the eligible grant opportunities in the portal. So with that, I'm actually going to jump onto the portal itself. 1 second. There we go. Okay, you should be able to see the actual grants portal. It is grants.ca.gov, which is where you will see this homepage. The homepage is built to make sure that you have different entry ways to find the information you're looking for. Number one, you will see that on the grants portal, you can actually, apologize for there, you can actually fill in a sentence that says, I am a type of applicant. So in this case, let's say we're all nonprofits. You can select the category you're interested in. There's like about 17 or so categories that you can select from. So if, let's say, you wanted to look at disadvantaged communities, you want to look at environmental grants, you want to look for, libraries, parks, recreation, arts, and so forth. So there's a lot of different categories. The categories are very high level to ensure that it doesn't, gets nested in. So making sure that's a high level, you can find all the grant in those categories. And then you can also select the time frame. So we know that there are some small nonprofits that might not have the time to fill out the application, that's due in like a week or so, right? So you can select that if the deadline is a month out or 3 months out or 6 months out or a year out. So that way you can actually get started on those applications if those are eligible grants for you. So once you've selected the different areas, you can say, show me the opportunities. What this portal does is it filters down to what you're looking for. Or you can say, I want to see everything on this portal, right? So all the current open grant opportunities. So that's one entryway. I'm not going to select any of those because I'm going to walk you through individually where you can see everything in a minute. Then you can find FAQs. So a lot of folks, who are new to the site want to learn about what are some of the things that they should be aware of. So you can find the frequently asked questions here, or you can find the glossary of what the state agencies are following to enter, the information onto the portal. Okay. Here's a different way to actually get what you're looking for. This way you can actually select any categories that you're interested in: education, disadvantaged communities, so forth. You can also do the same thing with the applicant type. So if you're one of those and just like, I don't want to see everything for nonprofit, I don't want to select a category, you can
Hey,
do
Shivani.
that. Yes.
Shivani, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
We're just looking at a black screen right now.
Oh my God.
We are having so many Zoom problems today.
Okay, hold on just a sec. Let me try that one more time. Okay, can you see this?
Yes. Fantastic.
Okay. I've been going on my own. Apologize for that. So let me start on top. So the sentence I was mentioning earlier is right on top. You can select what you're looking for, filter the information, say, show me the opportunities. Or you can say, I want to see everything. So it will take you to 2 different places, or same place, but 2 different filters. You scroll down, you can find FAQs or glossary. You can also search by category. So a little more visually appealing, to find the categories you're interested in. Or you can look it up by the applicant type that you are. You're a business, nonprofit, public agency. You can select, and it will filter only grants showing you that are in those applicant types. Recently posted, as you can see, these are constantly changing. You can see a day ago, there was a grant that was posted by the state agency 3 days ago, and so forth. So you can find information that way. Here's a little bit of a statistical analysis of what we have on the portal. You can see that there's 127 current opportunities that are open and forecasted. And we'll go through what those means in a minute. You can see 5 were added in the past week, and this is the total available funding of those 127. Okay, so that's the homepage. Different ways to enter and find the information you're looking for. Now let's
Hey,
go
can I
into.
just jump in? This is Lucy. Can I
Yeah.
just jump in? There are a couple of questions that are relevant to stuff you've already said.
Sure.
Now, can people filter by location as well as by grant category?
So there is no location currently available due to the fact that a lot of geographic requirements have more than just a location, right? So it may have very specific, information that state agencies would like the grant seeker to be aware of. So currently, unfortunately, you cannot select by location. However, you can select by any other category, and I'll show you where the geographic requirements are and why it's not a filterable option in just a second.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, so up on top, you will see that there's a bunch of different information. We just added a translation for you, powered by Google Translate at this moment. You can select if you need a translation of this site. Note that once you select a link to the department's website, translation loses, right? Because this translation's only on the grants portal. So you can still see the information in the translation on the portal, but once you click on any outside links, the translation will not be there. Okay, so Find Grants is where all 127 grants live. So this is where you will come if you wanted to see everything and filter a little bit more than what was on the homepage, right? So here you can actually refine your search by putting a keyword. You can refine it by agency if you know the department that you constantly apply through. You can also do it by category, just like the homepage. You can do it by eligible applicant or a distribution method, right? So some of you might be interested in advance reimbursement or both, right? So state agencies are putting in information that is relevant to the grant itself. So you can filter that information beforehand. By default, you will see all forecasted and active grant opportunities on this page. You can select closed to see anything previous grant opportunities. So that might be an easy way to search for the first time because the grant may have been closed already by the state agency, but you want to know maybe next year it will come back, right? So that's a great way to make sure that you are searching all different ways. Forecasted grant opportunities are those that are not currently available for you to apply. However, it allows you to start preparing for it. State agencies are putting that information. This was not in the legislative mandate. So they are putting this information to allow the grant seekers to start tracking this grant that they think it might be eligible for, and or go to the workshops that they are hosting or public meetings or so forth, right? So forecasted grant opportunities give you a limited information about the grant, but it allows you to start looking into it a little bit more and prepare your organization to get to where you can apply. So those are the forecasted grant opportunities. Active obviously are the ones that are open for application and have a deadline. There are some ongoing, so I will show you that filter on the bottom. Okay, so you can also exclude loan opportunities. Like I mentioned earlier, the definition is including loans. So you can exclude those if you don't want to see loans, or opportunities requiring matching fund. Okay, so those are two exclusions that you can do on the filter as well. So here are 127 grant opportunities, the total that was on the homepage. On the side, you can see the deadline. You can actually, filter or sort by the deadline. So if you want to see the most recent versus, later, you can do that. It will tell you the time that it's supposed to close. The time tells the system to turn this grant into closed. There's active, and then you'll see if they're forecasted down here, if there are any on the first page. There's a lot of pages. So there are no forecasted on this first page, but you'll show you forecasted or active here or closed. Then you see the title of the grant. You'll see the open date when it opened. and then the agency that is administering it. Note that all grant information and all the data is given to us by the state agency. Therefore, we don't have insight in the application process. Once you leave our site to go apply and read the RFP, it's department's visibility and not ours, okay? But gives you all the information here to find out what you're eligible for in a central place. So let's say this, yes.
Sorry to interrupt again.
Okay.
We've got a question. People are curious to know if all of the state agencies are posting information about their grants now through this portal, or are there some that still are not?
So we are currently, like I mentioned earlier, and I'll show you the statistics dashboard where it's live data as the departments are putting in. We have 52 state agencies that are currently that have grant opportunities, that have entered grant opportunities, whether they're closed or not, are following that. We do have a couple of agencies that we are working with to getting them onboarded. Note that this portal is 7 months old, right? So we're still working to make sure that everyone can enter the information, have permissions to do so. But majority of the state agencies that we interacted with from the beginning of this process back in July of 2019 have been putting in the grants as they become available. So
That's
in other words,
yeah, that's a
working.
great track record. Yeah, that's really a great track record. So for the couple of agencies that are not yet on, it should make sense for people to go directly to those agency websites to look for grant opportunities there.
True. And if you don't see a department here that has, and you know of a department that, should have grant opportunities, and if you see those grant opportunities, we would love to know if, you find something out there that we should be aware of too. So feel free to let us know, and I'll share with you where you can let us know that as well in a minute.
And
okay.
if people qualify in multiple categories, if they're nonprofit, the work that they do fits into multiple categories, would you recommend that they just plug in the different categories and look for grants in multiple categories?
Yes, so you can select as many categories as you like. Just note that some of the state agencies actually tag their grant opportunities in multiple categories. So there might be grants that are showing up in your search that have agriculture, disadvantaged communities, and energy or something like that, right? So you may have just selected agriculture, but you're seeing other categories because they're tagged with those as well. So that's how the category works on the portal. And so back to figuring out how do you know if you're eligible for and you want to know more about the grant opportunity itself. You can do a couple ways. You can actually read the more details, just a little bit more information about that grant, or you can actually click on the grant and you can see the entire detail that is provided by the state agency. So in this one, you can see important dates that you should be aware of, funding detail, what is the total funding amount, what is expected to be awarded, and also for when you hover over, as I'm hovering over, you will see what these mean, right? So it tells you what does the dependent mean. Dependent means that it depends on the application process of the department to determine how many number of awards they will be giving out. It also gives you any notes and any requirements that they have around the funding, right? So it gives you detailed information there. Detail over here on the left, or description, I'm sorry, gives you a lot more depth information. So this is where you'll read more to determine if this is something that your organization is eligible for. Eligibility requirements include, who the applicant must be. And then here's the geographic requirements. So the reason why we can't have a filter for it is because it's a text, right? It sometimes doesn't give us enough information to be able to say, oh, you can filter by region or district. It might be statewide, right? So in this case, departments are allowed to put in text information to give you a little more depth than just your region or district, okay? So it gives you a better understanding before you go to their website. Like I was mentioning earlier, all grant opportunities are supposed to go through the department's guidelines and RFPs before you can apply. this is how you go to the department's website. So once you click on grant guidelines, it takes you to that department's website to now read more about it and apply. You can also see that there's resources down here, which was part of the legislative mandate, that they are supposed to give you a phone number and an email address, okay, to be able to contact about this grant opportunities. Note, there are some state agencies that have a blackout period, right? So they may not have that, but they are supposed to put that in the description. So you know right away that there might be no answers from them because of that. So that's the detail page that tells you how to look at the information. Back to going here, how does the keyword search work? So one of you have mentioned that COVID-19, related funding is important to you. So you'll put COVID-19. If COVID-19 is mentioned in any text of the grant opportunity, it will show you those grant opportunities. So in this case, I'm not filtering it by any of the other filters. I'm just putting keyword search. So I'm going to apply. And here's all the COVID-19 grant opportunities that are active. And if there were any forecasted, it will show because I didn't pick closed. But if I click closed and apply, it will show me everything that has been closed already, as well as active. So as you can see, there were a lot of grants that were closed that were related to COVID-19. So that's the keyword search. That's how it works. If you wanted to know what other search you can put, you can put climate change, you can put high school, anything else that you think would be relevant to find. So if you put religious based, you may not find it because that's a word that may not be mentioned by the state agency in the description or any text, right? So find it in different ways. You can search for it by a category. Maybe it's under disadvantaged communities, or it might be under, social, what is it called? Let me find it. Maybe under housing and community economic development, right? If you're looking for housing for, any kind of housing situation, right? So there's different ways so you can find the same information that might not come up with a keyword search. Keyword is only looking at the text of the grant opportunities. The other little things that I want to mention here is you can, again, still reach the glossary for definitions of the terms that state agencies are putting in, and then FAQs to answer any common questions that you might have. One of the main things that we just added recently, which is what I was mentioning earlier, how do you know which state agency is actually putting in the grant opportunities? You go to the statistics dashboard. This data right here is live. Every 24 hours, it updates, okay? So every 24 hours, if there are grants that are put in or a new department that gets added, you'll know. This is the total number since July 1, 2020 of grants that we've had. So it tells you 101 active, 199 closed, and 26 forecasted, right? So the number on the front end includes forecasted and active, which is why it's 127, right? And then there's 199 closed so far. It tells you how many grants have been, or how many grants do we have? How many loans do we have? How many grant and loans solicitations do we have? It tells you how many nonprofit grant opportunities there are, tribal government, public agency, businesses, individuals, and so forth. Note that because there's multiple selection of this, so multiple applicants can be eligible for one grant, the numbers might be a little off, okay? So you can also search by department here and see who has all the grants, and it tells you all the data about that grant, okay? If you're interested in downloading that data, you can actually go to our open portal, the data portal that the state has. This is where you can download a CSV file and look at the data that way as well. So that's the statistics dashboard. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is how do you, if you don't want to come to the portal every day to search for stuff, right? So you can actually subscribe to notifications from this portal. You can you can get a daily or weekly notification. The notification includes all newest grants, so all new and forecasted, that includes forecasted, or you can select a category that you're interested in. And note that you will only receive an email if there is new grants in the categories that you selected, right? Otherwise, you won't receive an email. It's not like every day you get a blank email because, you know, it's an email. It just only when there's a new grant opportunity. We are continuing to do feedback sessions with our grant seekers. So we have added, if you're interested in attending feedback sessions, we would love to hear what's working, what's not working, what are some of the things that you would like to see. You can always sign up for our feedback sessions. They happen every quarter. The next one is coming up in May. So if you're interested in it, fill this form out and we'll be able to send you a notification about the details on the feedback sessions in the future. You can also contact us, which is where we would love to hear your feedback as well. Like I mentioned, if you have specific questions about the grant itself, please contact the state agency under the resources. They should have a phone number and an email for you because we don't have insight on the application process. But if you have any issues with the grants portal, or you see that there's a grant that's missing from a department that should be there, that's competitive, let us know. And this is the form you'll fill out to give us a feedback. And we try to respond back within a day or so, and let you know whether or not we're reaching out or what's the next step. Okay, and you can always email us on our mailbox as well if you don't want to fill out the form. Okay, and then we have certain areas for state agencies specific. So you know they have their own portal to get into to enter this information. And then you can find FAQs and glossaries using this site as well. Okay, that's all I had to share. I'm open for any questions, Lucy. If folks have any specific questions for me.
Yes, we do have some coming in. We had a question about how the categories were selected.
Okay, so categories, so like I was telling you, we did an extensive research in the beginning. So we spent around 6 months looking at other portals around the country and state. So we looked at Grants.gov. We looked at our internal, I think Air Resources Board has another tool that they use, a funding wizard. And we also looked at our incentive website from State Treasurer's Office. So those were the main website that we kind of compared and looked at the categories to determine what are some of the most popular categories that are high enough that can fit into all the state agencies' work that we have, right? So that's kind of how we selected it. And we do have uncategorized as an option because we only had a year to build this. So we know that we didn't, you know, mark everything, right? So if you see a category that does not exist there, that is high enough that does not fall under any of the ones that we have, please let us know. We would love to hear your feedback on that.
Okay, just another question or two, and I know we want to save some time for Jan.
Yes.
And Shivani, if you're willing to get on the Q&A and answer some
Sure.
of the questions by typing in the answers, but there's some more technical questions. I did want to take one more question, and let me see. Oh, the forecast function. Somebody was testing it while you were speaking, and they noticed that there weren't a lot of options in the forecast function yet. Do you anticipate that function will be getting used more going forward?
And there were a lot, but remember, forecasts turn into active. So you will not see them as closed or find them how many we had, because the idea is the whole life cycle of it is it goes from forecasted to active to closed, right? So the state agencies will list forecasted and then they'll transition it to active when the applications are open, and then it will be closed. So that's why it's a flowing number. And so we do know that departments have been using it because at times you will see there's a lot of forecasted, and we're also checking on those, making sure that folks are transitioning it to active and not leaving them there forever. So yes, it's a flowing number,
wonderful,
unfortunately.
Okay, great. Well, if you'd be willing to get on the Q&A and answer some of the questions through typing the answers. And then if we've got some time at the very end of the webinar and we have some additional questions for you, we will get back to you with some of those questions live. But now I want to turn over to Jan Masaoka. Jan. Jan, you may be muted. We're not hearing you.
I was. All right. Thanks. Thank you, Lucy. And Shivani, I just have to say, first of all, it's an awesome resource, and several people, you would have loved this, said in the chat box, how nice looking it is. It's not just great, but it's nice looking. And I like the comment, it's nicer looking than grants.gov, which is definitely true. And also, I think the fact that you can see the kind of detail in the statistics part, that just says a lot about openness and, open to sharing information from a government agency that we wish were universal, but thank you for all of those things. Thanks. Okay, so let me I'm sorry. All right, so my part of this is how to get government money. And I do want to start by saying that what we're not going to cover here right now is 3 of the current funds that are specifically around COVID-19. One is Paycheck Protection Program. One is the California Small Business and Nonprofits Grants Program. And the third one is the Shuttered Venue Program for arts venues, for example. So we have had, and we'll have specific information about those. In fact, we have one coming up on the Small Grants Program next week. So I'm not going to cover those, but we are kind of coming to the end of COVID-specific funding. So this is a little bit more related to how to get a government grant in general. All right. And just a word, well, so why bother doing this anyway? And I think that it sounds to me from the Q&A that a lot of people here have experience with foundation grants, but maybe not with government grants. And a couple of important things, as you can see in this pie chart, government money represents 30% of the nonprofit sector's funds overall. And then in the section on fees for program, those probably about half of that is also government funds. So you can see that it's really a big significant part of where nonprofits get our money from. Government money sometimes renews for decades, all right, which is most foundation funds tend to go away after 4 or 5 years. Government funding is very often seeking to serve underserved communities, and it involves you in the community of providers. If you're, for example, in the field of domestic violence, you become part of the domestic violence provider ecosystem, and that's partly you'll be there to advocate with others in the field for additional funding, for example, or for better rules and regulations. So I really want to encourage you to think about it as you go forward. And I just have one little pet peeve I want to bring up too, which is that, there are probably thousands of workshops every week on how to write a grant proposal for a foundation. And there's very little information about how to get money from government, despite the fact that government funds roughly 10 times as much money to nonprofits as foundations do in aggregate. Where does government money come from? So you can see here that some money comes from the federal government and it goes directly to nonprofits, that kind of greenish line at the bottom. Some money goes directly to the state. Some money goes from the federal to the state. Some of that money then goes to the local governments like counties and cities. So looking in the lower right-hand corner for us nonprofits, we can get money from federal, state, and local agencies, but that may not be necessarily where the money came from. If we get a grant from our county office, for example, it could be with state money, it could be with county money, or it could be with federal money, or a mixture of all 3. So when you look for grant opportunities and contract opportunities, you want to understand where did that money actually come from at the beginning, because that'll help you understand what the criteria are going to be. And just to kind of, again, part of being encouraging here, these are 4 examples of real life grants that for nonprofits that got, these were their first time government grants. $10,000 from the county for a neighborhood health fair, $50,000 from the county to renovate the kitchen at a senior center, $25,000. This is a federal grant from the Forest Service to improve a forest area. California Arts Council, this is a state agency, $17,000 for quilt making workshops for African-American seniors. So you can see that, there are quite a variety of different kinds of grants available to first-time seekers. And this is crucial here, grants versus contracts. There are technical differences between grants versus contracts, but it's confusing because, of course, when you get a grant, then you sign a contract for it. And In regular life, people use grants and contracts more or less interchangeably, but they're actually quite different on a technical point of view. And one of the important things to remember about the California side is that right now it only has grants. It does not have contracts. And we're hoping that that's something and State Senator Limon and us can work on, is to get contracts added as well. Right. So you may think, well, I don't know anything about giving government money, but most of us know how people get jobs, and it's actually very similar. So it's a very good metaphor for looking for government money. So for example, there's sort of the normal way to get a job, right? Which is that you go, that you look in the want ads, like on Idealist or Craigslist or something like that, and you see a job and you apply for it, and then it goes to an interview, and then maybe you'll be offered the job, right? That's kind of the book way to do it. And that works for a lot of people, but there's also the way about getting a job, which is where you do informational interviews and you network and you ask people for recommendations. And so you want to pursue both of these, just as you would pursue both of these ways getting a job, you want to do both of them as ways of getting grants and contracts. So I want to take a quick look at 4 examples of help wanted ads. This is the federal one. This is called Grants.gov, and I love the comment that the California side is nice to looking, because we have more style in California than they do in Washington, D.C. But in any case, so you can search grants here. And I would say that this is federal grants.gov is like monster job board. It's just like overwhelming, it's just kind of like, oh, this is just too much to cope with. But I do want to say that I really think that they have excellent how-to materials and explanatory materials. So you might want to just take a look at their videos and their articles, on how to manage their own site even. So second one is the one that Shivani just went over, grants.ca.gov. And you can see it's much more user-friendly and nice looking too. Okay, there are also commercial sites where you here's just 2 examples. Each one of them you have to pay certain amounts of money to go to if you want to subscribe to them, but you can get 7 days for free if you want to try them out just for a quick look. And I did searches on them, one for San Bernardino and one for Fresno, and just to remind us all that all of these sites are not perfect in a perfect universe where everything would be on every site. Okay, sometimes you'll see a grant and you'll say, well, if it's on this site, it must be on this other site. That isn't always true, because the information sometimes gets garbled as it comes through the systems. All right, now let's look at some county help wanted ads. All right, so some counties have county-wide portals. This is from Stanislaus County, one of the counties in California that has been very, very nonprofit friendly and really recognizes nonprofits as partners. On this particular page, I'm afraid doesn't show any that are open, but you can see that the variety of ones that you can see in one search. More frequently, counties have departments that each department has their own website for grants and bids, and some departments don't publish at all. So it's not as transparent, certainly, as the state. This is one from the Department of Children and Family Services in Los Angeles County. So if you're in LA County, you'll need to look at each one separately. Which is how it used to be in California. Now, thanks to the new site, we can look in one site. Okay, so just one more last word on the help wanted side. So it is useful to do this, but just as looking in the want ads is one way to look for jobs, sometimes it isn't always the best way. All right, so here's some kind of the informal ways to seek government funding. And I use this image of a path going into the woods, because you're going to go in the woods and you don't exactly know where you're going to go once you get in there, because you can't see any further. So you have to think of yourself as walking into the woods, taking 3 steps and then looking around before deciding where else to go. You're not going to be able to map it all out ahead of time. So, and a goal in a job search, right, of course, is to get an informational interview with a fairly senior person at the company where you want to get a job. And the goal in the funding search is to do informational meetings with senior people at a government agency that you think is a likely funder. So just keep in mind, that's the goal, is an informational interview, if you will, with somebody at the agency that you believe to be a funder. So I know all of you have great networking skills, because you probably wouldn't have founded or started or work at a nonprofit if you didn't. But here's some questions to ask, for example, in those informational interviews. Like you don't walk into an informational interview for a job and say, hey, I'm really great, hire me. You ask these other kind of questions like, well, tell me more about, I have some questions about what your company does, right? Of course, you want to not be rude. You want to kind of create a positive impression about yourself. So some kind of things you can ask similarly are, you can ask, for example, somebody at a foundation or another nonprofit that or a community leader or a member of your city council. Which agencies do you know that are funding nonprofits that do something similar to what we do, or that fund similar populations, people like the people that we work with? That'll give you another place to go for your next 3 steps into the woods, right? Because now you have a couple of new people to network with. You have to go to coalitions and convenings. When my older daughter was about 5 and her younger daughter was 4, her younger sister was 4, and my younger daughter didn't want to go to this birthday party she had been invited to. And my older daughter said to her in a very bossy older sister kind of way, she said, if you want to have friends, you have to go to parties. And this is also true for nonprofits. You participate in coalitions and convenings because that's one place you can meet people. And one of the things I know is this is some ways easier on Zoom. You can look at the people in Zoom, and then you can use the chat box to message them directly and say, I'm so-and-so, and I'm wondering if you would be open to a 10-minute Zoom for me because I have some questions about your agency. So go to those kinds of things. In person, it's good to go to fundraisers because many of the funders may be at somebody's fundraiser. Ask people for introductions. And again, just like in an information interview for a job, you want to focus on listening and learning, right? As opposed to telling. So you could say, what are some of the gaps that you see in serving children 4 to 6, for example? If we were to bid on a contract, what would you want to see about ourselves? And I always like it's really being very candid about being new to the process, just saying things like, hey, I'm new at this. This is the first time I've ever talked to anybody about county funding. So thanks for taking the time. And I'm kind of even saying I'm feeling nervous about this kind of conversation. But anyway, just be yourself. Don't feel like you have to be this super polished, government grant seeker. Right. And then kind of just like in a job description, it might say preferred qualities, maybe not required qualities, but preferred ones. And I'm not going to defend these qualities, but I have to say that these are very typical for government funding. So first, that it's a tested, accepted idea. A brand new idea is not going to be funded by government because government just isn't in the business of taking flyers on completely new, wild and crazy ideas. You'd be more likely to get the funding from an individual, from a foundation, than from government. Government wants to be sure that you're not going to disappear in a year or 2. So they want to see a track record of several years in business if possible. County governments really like to fund people that are in their county. As opposed to people that are out of county. If you are trying to talk to somebody in a different county, it will help if you have strong connections with your own county government doing the same work in your county, and you're going to another county to replicate those services there. Right? You have some experience doing something either similar with this population or audience. So that they know that, this kind of group, whatever kind of group you're looking for, they understand that you kind of are culturally in tune with and understand how to communicate and maybe how to reach and how to work with that particular kind of people. And they also want to see that you have community connections and support, that you're kind of part of the system. If you're in disabilities, for example, you're familiar with other disability agencies and what kinds of work that they do and how they might be different or similar from yours. Right? I know that nobody wants to hear the downsides, but so, a year and a half from now, when you get that $1 million government grant, you can bring the group, say, what am I supposed to be worried about again? And you can pull out this slide. And this survey that we did 2 years ago, of more than 2,000 nonprofits responded to who have government contracts. Their number one complaint: payments don't cover the full cost of contracted programs. So for example, Meals on Wheels is an example where the amount of money that Meals on Wheels is willing to pay nonprofit organizations to prepare and deliver meals is often, almost always, lower than it costs to do that. And you have to raise, additional money to be able to cover that gap. time required for application or bid process. I have to say the COVID related grants, I know many people had a lot of problems with them, but compared to some of our regular government processes, they were actually pretty quick. The time required for reporting is very high, late payments. You know, I just talked to a person who runs a homeless services agency, and, you know, right now they have in late payments from government agencies, they are out $2 million. So that means they have had to have $2 million in reserves that they can use to pay their expenses as they wait for government to give them the money. Again, probably not thinking about the downsides now, but be aware that there are some. And then this is kind of what I said before, but just a couple more to point out these last two. You have to stay aware politically with government grants. So for example, if two new people are elected to this county board of supervisors, you know, and they're very keen on something in particular, then that's going to change the way the county does gives out money. And similarly, if you may have somebody elected to the board of supervisors who's very negative about the kind of work that you do, or feels that your neighborhood is already overfunded or something like that. So you're going to need to stay aware of those kinds of trends and factors in your environment. Also, we're more exposed politically and publicly, I mean, with government money. So for example, you know, if you get a grant from a foundation and somehow or another, everything goes wrong with it, you know, probably that's not going to make the papers, right? The foundation will probably keep it quiet. They might scold you, but they're not going to go to the press. Government money, however, we are definitely more likely for a problem to show up in the press or in a hearing or something like that. And then finally, I want to say it's really important to ask for help. Ask larger agencies, are you looking for subcontractors? And right now, especially I have to say in behavioral health and mental health services, substance abuse, that kind of stuff, the trends are absolutely in this direction. County governments and state government now much more wants to contract with, let's just say, one large mental health organization, and then ask that mental health organization to, for example, do a subcontract, let's say, for low-income seniors in a particular neighborhood, because they know that this large nonprofit doesn't really serve that group. So that means many of the larger agencies are now going to be looking for, over the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to be looking for smaller organizations that are more focused, maybe speak a different language than the mainstream organization does, or, you know, is more familiar with a community of color than the mainstream organization is, to subcontract to them. So we're seeing large agencies have maybe 10 or even 15 subcontractors to serve specific populations within that given one. So if the larger agencies in your field don't know about you, they won't think to approach you about becoming a subcontractor to them. You can also ask your elected member of the Board of Supervisors and say to them, you know, that you would like to have, say, you know, we're looking over the different departments in our county. You know, we think, for example, that the Natural Resources Department might be one that we might be able to talk to. Could you give us an introduction to them? If you have a foundation grant and you're on good terms with your foundations, ask them what government departments fund their other grantees. Okay. Right. And government and nonprofits, I mean, you often will hear this phrase, nonprofits rely on government money, but you know what? Governments rely on nonprofit for services, and government knows that they can't do the services as culturally appropriate as we can. We're more nimble than they are. We are more innovative, more adaptive than they are. We have closer ties to our communities because we came from those communities and we're part of those communities. As just one example, California nonprofits provide 32% of all the Medi-Cal services in California. So we really rely upon one another. All right, so Lucy, I'm guessing there are, I don't know, 700 or 800 questions by now.
There are a few.
Okay, let's
and
roll
we probably won't get to all of them, but let's see if we can get to a few of them. Can you talk a little bit about working with professional grant writers, the advantages and disadvantages of that?
I would say that what we hear mostly is complaints about professional grant writers. And I think that it's not whether somebody's a good grant writer or not. What you want with government is you want to have somebody who has experience with this particular funding stream. All right, so for example, if you're looking, you know, if you do food pantries, if you're a food pantry and you're looking for government money, you want somebody who understands what are the grant opportunities right now in food pantries and have they written one before, because they're very specific. So somebody says, if you're looking for grant money for a theater, don't go to somebody who wrote one for childcare or vice versa. And actually kind of sometimes you can find like a development officer or a person who ran a particular program who's just retired or something like that. Sometimes those are the best people to work with. And foundation grant writing and government grant writing are completely different. Okay, so and I saw that already in the Q&A, people asking the kinds of questions that you would ask, that foundations would ask, but governments would never ask. So keep that in mind too.
Okay, great. And can you talk a little bit about some of the financial pieces? Like, do you have to prepare to do an audit? What kind of financial setup do you need to have to apply for government grants?
To apply, you don't need to have a big setup. If you get the money, you do. All right, so make sure that you put in enough money so that you'll be able to recoup some of that. But to apply, you don't need a lot of stuff.
Okay, great. And then we have questions about applying for county level grants. And, unfortunately, there's no statewide portal of accessing county level grants. So where do people go? Where should they go? Should they go to the county website? Should they go to the particular department's website?
All of examples of those. Some counties do have countywide, and some don't. So it depends on your county. You should try to look at both. And the best single tip I have is to go look on the websites of your other providers in your area. So, for example, if you are let's just say you're an after-school dance program, then look and see who else does after-school programs or who else does dance classes. Look in both of those areas and look on their websites and see who funds them. Write them all down and then look those up.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there are some real differences between applying for foundation grants and applying for government grants. Can you just give a couple of details of what those are?
There was one question I saw in the Q&A that said, do you need a strategic plan? All right. And so the fact is, government doesn't care about your strategic plan. Okay. And it doesn't care about a lot of things that your foundation might care about. And it's also, again, department by department. So for example, so the difference is foundations are often looking for something interesting and exciting, right? And appealing to them. And they're open to kind of typically, if they say something like, well, we fund in early childhood ed, they probably fund a number of things in early childhood ed. Government is more like a job. This is what we want done. Can you do it? Okay, so that's the question. We want this specific population served with this particular service. Can you do it? So what your plans are for 5 years from now doesn't matter to them. Right. But again, like foundation, one way that they're like foundation is every department might have different roles. So for example, at the San Francisco Health Department, if you're looking for funding from them, one of the things that are going to ask you is how many people on your staff and board, for example, identify as HIV positive. But on the other hand, if you're applying for San Francisco County funding from another department, they won't ask about that at all. I also noticed one that said, can we get fire equipment? Is there grants available for fire equipment because we need new sprinklers for our cultural center? Well, you're not going to see something that says fire equipment, okay? But you are going to be looking for a cultural center facility improvements, or you're going to be looking for community center facility improvements or things like that. So you're just going to have to take the time to look at your county and see how they present their grants. Some county departments, just one last thing, some county departments have mailing lists that you can get on where they'll send you a list of upcoming grant opportunities and contract opportunities. And sometimes they'll have something called the bidders conference. And that's where they'll say, here's this given contract that we want to do. And so if you're interested, there'll be a conference call typically, and they'll answer questions from all the people that are interested in bidding on that grant. So go to those anyway, because it's interesting to see what other people are asking.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. And I'm very conscious of the time, so we are going to move along. We didn't get to all of your questions, but you will have access to a link to the recording and to the slides. And Jan, you can go on to the advocacy.
So I have like my closing romantic inspiring comment. Okay, first.
All right, go for it.
Advocacy, okay, and that is this quote: "The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago," right? And just think, if all of your organizations, somebody 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, had started seeking government funding, you'd have that now. So it's very hard not to think that, but just so keep in mind, the second best time is now. Okay, and so
Wonderful.
Lucy is our policy director, and she's going to be telling you about advocacy and funding.
Yes, so very, very quickly, there are some opportunities right now for you to seek funding and to advocate on behalf of funding for nonprofits. So we've already talked about the California Relief Grant Program. There is a 6th and probably final round of that beginning on April 28th, and you can access information through our website, through CA Relief, through the carelief.com grant website. And please, if you haven't applied yet, it's a great opportunity to do that. And I did want to say that nonprofits are included in that grant program because of our advocacy and the advocacy of our allies. So our advocacy can and does pay off. The second opportunity I wanted to just mention to you all is the federal money coming down to the state and to counties and cities. That is totaling $42 billion. There's 26 billion coming to the state, and there's another 16 billion coming to counties and cities. We really encourage you to go to your county board of supervisors, go to your city council members, let them know that nonprofits need to have a piece of that funding, that we are really stepping up to serve our communities, especially now, and that we do need relief funds. So encourage you to reach out to your local contacts with your elected officials and let them know that nonprofits need to be included in that. And then just one more that I wanted to bring up. We are supporting a state Senate bill that will make sure that nonprofits are paid promptly during emergencies for the work that they're doing under state agency contract. So we know that that's been an issue that you all have raised. There will be an opportunity to sign on to a support letter for this bill. So keep a watch out for an e-alert about that. That should be coming soon. So, and if you have any questions about any of these advocacy issues or any other policy issues related to nonprofits, please reach out to me and to others at Cal Nonprofits. And with that, I also wanted to let you know that we are a membership organization. We would love to have you join if you haven't already. Here's some reasons why it's a great idea to become a member of Cal Nonprofits. And there's a link there for you to go to our website to join. And then finally, we can go to that last slide. I want to thank the other speakers, Jan and Shivani, for all the amazing information you all shared. I also want to thank our closed captioner today, Kara Dugas, who did a great job, and also our wonderful tech team, Karina Paredes Arzola and Christina Dragonetti.